Some stories bleed, hidden beneath layers of laughter and applause, waiting years for the courage to surface. Her smile once brightened living rooms across the country, but only she knew how much it cost to keep smiling. How does someone remain a symbol of joy while carrying heartbreak no one else can see? In a world that celebrated her as that girl, few imagined what Marlo Thomas was enduring behind the cameras: the humiliation, the betrayal, the fear that speaking her truth could end everything she had worked for. But now, she's breaking the silence. And the truth is far darker, far sadder, and far more disturbing than anyone ever imagined. From the moment she entered the spotlight, Marlo carried the heavy legacy of her father, Danny Thomas, a beloved comedian and television legend. Many assumed her path would be paved with privilege and protection. But instead of shielding her, his name became both a target and a trap. When she walked into her very first television audition, full of hope and idealism, a director pulled her aside. There were no compliments about her talent. No genuine discussion about her role. Just a veiled threat. Her father was famous, powerful, and respected. That meant she should know how things work. She was expected to make compromises. The implication was chillingly clear. And when she refused to play along, the doors slammed shut. For 2 whole years, no one would hire her, not because she lacked talent, but because she dared to say no. That early experience taught her a cruel truth. In Hollywood, a woman's success could be conditional, based on silence, submission, and complicity. But Marlo didn't break. She fought back in the only way she knew how, by creating something that had never been seen before. That Girl wasn't just a TV show.
It was a statement.
A declaration that a woman could be independent, funny, strong, and fulfilled without centering her life around marriage. For the first time on television, a young woman lived alone, worked for herself, and wasn't desperately chasing a wedding ring. But her bold vision wasn't welcomed with open arms. Behind the scenes, producers pushed her to tone it down. Writers subtly changed scripts to fit a more traditional mold. Co-stars questioned her decisions. They wanted her wardrobe to be more revealing, more feminine, more appealing to the male gaze. Marlo pushed back, again and again. And again, she paid the price. One night, while preparing for a late-night talk show appearance, she accepted a drink from the host. It would be her last clear memory of that evening. She awoke in a strange place, disoriented, alone, and terrified. She never reported the incident. Not because it didn't matter, but because she knew how the industry worked. Victims weren't believed. They were blamed, blacklisted, or mocked. So she stayed silent. But the memory never left her. Then came the betrayal that cut even deeper. Ted Bessell wasn't just her co-star on That Girl. He was someone she trusted, someone she loved. In private, she had shared something deeply personal with him, intimate photographs taken to preserve her own sense of confidence and beauty. They were never meant to be seen by anyone else. But when Ted's career began to falter, he made a decision that would destroy their relationship forever. He sold those photos to a magazine for $80,000. No warning. No explanation. Just a brutal act of betrayal. Marlo saw them in print like everyone else. Her private self, now public property. The sense of violation was unbearable. But she showed up to work the next day. She smiled for the cameras. She carried the weight of it all alone. Pain didn't only come from romantic partners. One of the most shocking betrayals came from someone she considered a sister. Shirley MacLaine was more than a fellow actress. She was an ally, a friend, someone Marlo fought beside in battles over censorship and women's rights. But behind closed doors, even that friendship had its cracks. During a difficult time in her life, Marlo confided in Shirley about a private abortion, an experience that had shaken her to the core. It was a secret she had shared with only a few. But Shirley leaked that information, shattering Marlo's trust. As if that weren't enough, Shirley then pursued the man Marlo loved, Richard Kaufman, turning personal pain into public humiliation. The woman who had stood beside her in solidarity had, in one stroke, exposed her and taken from her the man she cared for most. And it didn't stop there. Another betrayal came from an American icon, Bob Hope, a name synonymous with humor, patriotism, and family-friendly entertainment. Marlo thought she was meeting with him for a professional opportunity. Instead, she found herself alone with him in a private setting, faced with a deeply inappropriate proposition. Hope offered her a career boost, but it came with a price. When she refused, her part in a live TV special mysteriously disappeared. Her scene was gone. Just like that. No discussion. No explanation. Just quiet, punishing erasure. The power of silence in Hollywood was staggering. You didn't need to be shouted down. You only needed to be deleted. And then there was Bill Cosby, the man America once called America's dad. Marlo appeared alongside him for a televised charity event, trusting his public persona like so many others did. Backstage, he offered her a drink, one she didn't want, one she refused multiple times. His pressure became a threat. Either take the drink or risk becoming difficult. She walked away, but the fear stayed with her, because it wasn't just about that one moment. It was about the realization that so many men in the industry, men people loved, men people trusted, were using their power not to uplift others, but to exploit them. Johnny Carson's betrayal was quieter, but no less damaging. He had invited Marlo to appear on his show, not just as a guest, but as a creator, an activist, a respected figure in entertainment. She thought she would be treated with dignity. Instead, she found herself the punchline. He mocked her appearance, questioned her relevance, reduced everything she had done to whether or not she still looked young enough to matter. It was cruel, and it was public. That interview marked the end of her appearances on major talk shows. Not because she walked away, but because she was never invited back. Still, Marlo never let these experiences define her.
She didn't retreat. She didn't vanish.
She kept going. She worked harder. She used her platform to speak out when she could. But she also carried the weight of it all. Every betrayal, every violation, every cruel word, deep within her. She had become a symbol of strength, but behind the scenes, she was still healing from wounds few knew she had. Her story is a devastating reminder that fame is not protection, that even those who bring joy to millions can be suffering silently, and that the people we admire most are not always who they seem. Marlo's courage in naming these men, Ted Bessell, Bob Hope, Bill Cosby, Johnny Carson, and even calling out the woman she once loved like a sister, Shirley MacLaine, shows us just how far-reaching the problem is. This isn't just about individual bad actors. It's about a system that rewards silence, punishes resistance, and treats women as expendable. But there's one more chapter. One final betrayal she hasn't fully named. A co-star. A friend. A woman who turned cold, whose quiet contempt on set left wounds that may never heal. Marlo hasn't said her name. Maybe she never will. But her silence speaks volumes. Not all cruelty is loud. Sometimes, the most painful betrayals are the ones delivered without a word. Marlo Thomas never asked to be a symbol. She only wanted to act, to create, to make people laugh and think. But over time, she became something more, a survivor, a witness, a voice for those who haven't yet found the strength to speak. Her story isn't just hers. It's the story of countless women in entertainment who were told to smile, to obey, to stay quiet, and who are now finally saying no more. If you believe these stories matter, if you think voices like Marlo's deserve to be heard, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply listen.